Around the year 1930, a man by the name of Mathewson began having prayer meetings in his home. These were just neighborly meetings, but the Lord uniquely met the small group and they began to grow in attendance. The Mathewsons' home was not large enough to accommodate all the people, so they began looking for a church which would suit their needs. On March 11th, 1931, the assembly moved to a building on 8th and Jeffers. The pastors were Reverend and Mrs. A.D. Tabor. There were approximately 35 people in attendance. The church continued to grow during a 6-week revival led by Reverend Tabor. People were hungry for the Word of God and would fill the little room whenever the doors opened. Arthur and Lola Tabor left for a short time while they were gone, and Reverend Norman House was the interim pastor. Tabor's returned to pastor and stayed through 1949. The congregation soon felt the need to build their own church building. Property donated by R.H. Mathewson was acquired on 611 East 11th Street, and plans for the new church were started with enthusiasm. Everyone pitched in to help, donating their time, skills, and money. Some of the men remember pounding nails or sanding boards, then standing back to admire the frame of the new church. Some ladies remember taking coffee down to the building site in the evening for their hardworking husbands. After 1931, the Union Pacific building back shop was torn down. Tabor bought the bricks, 40,000 of them for $105, and carried them in small loads in a Ford pickup truck, breaking the axle 2 or 3 times in the process. Then he cleaned the bricks, and they were used to build the church. On May 1st, 1937, the first worship service in the new church was conducted. 5 months later, on October 8th, 1937, Bulletin held a message for the congregation concerning Christian education. The church of tomorrow is to be made up of the children today. Early in our history, the Lord wrote in the DNA the need for sound Christian education that still affects us today. A Sunday school annex was built onto the church about 1 year later, making room for sustained growth. 10 years later, the Foursquare Gospel Church of North Platte won highest honors of attendance and missionary giving in their district. The same year, North Platte received a gold seal from the awards given at the Sunday School Convention. This is one of the highest possible awards in the standard of attainment. The magazine Forward, Christian Education and Progress, wrote this about North Platte Sunday School staff. This school is well graded and has a faithful group of teachers and officers. That year, the North Platte Foursquare Church sent over 40 people to Midwest Sunday School Conference. Those people went with enthusiasm to learn how to present Christ in a more effective way. Between 1937 and 1947, the church grew from 35 to 145 in Sunday morning attendance. Reverend Gertrude Dylan was the interim pastor, coming in June of 1949, followed in September by Reverend and Mrs. Allen Hamilton. From 1949 to 1950, under the pastoral leadership of Pastor Hamilton, the church reached a record highest attendance of 261 people. During this time, a new parsonage was created at 406 East 13th Street. Pastor Allen and Dorothy left the church in 1954 and started pioneering several churches. Reverend Clyde Greason came in 1954 and was only here for 1 year. In that year, he had an outstanding radio ministry. They say his voice was so astounding that some made the remark if anyone would know what the Lord sounded like, he probably would have had a voice like Reverend Greason. Reverend Greason left in 1955 and went to Kansas City, Kansas. Reverend Duncan became pastor in 1955, and while he was here, the UFW, United Foursquare Women, was started. The UFW became very active in the church and accomplished many projects. With Duncan leaving in 1957, Reverend George Mulligan then became pastor. While Pastor Mulligan and his wife Zola were here, the property, which is now the parking lot, was purchased. Talk began of building a new church, and a building fund was started. It was announced the bulletin that pledges should be all paid by 1955. Reverend Mulligan was an outstanding Bible teacher and retired in 1965 and moved to Greeley, Colorado. Reverend Stevens came in 1965 and was the interim pastor until Reverend and Mrs. Lenville Dennis came in 1966. Reverend Dennis had the reputation that if anyone needed anything, he was there to help. He even delivered coal to the people who needed it for heat. Mrs. Dennis was a school teacher and was the only pastor's wife that ever worked out of the home. The Dennis family left in 1969. Reverend James and Shirley Walker arrived in 1969, and a new era of the construction began, both within the church body and the physical church. The church had property on the corner of Carr and Anna, but it wasn't good enough to build on. God moved providentially upon the neighbors and the town fathers so that in 1972, the lot just of the property was purchased. The construction of the new church could begin. In March of 1972, there was a groundbreaking ceremony with Reverend Ballinger, the district supervisor, was present to help us celebrate. We met at the old church for a potluck meal and then went to the groundbreaking ceremony. On September 1973, the congregation moved into the new church on the corner of A and Carr. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony in which the mayor, Robert Fairs, cut the ribbon. The church became known as the Westfield Foursquare Church. Brother Walker was a sound Bible teacher and Sister Walker was a great preacher. The Walkers left in November 1974 to become missionaries in Costa Rica. Reverend Bud Franzen became interim pastor until the new pastors, Reverend and Mrs. Robert Binkley, could come in February 1975. While Pastor Bob was here, it was decided to build an addition to the church. As the church was growing, so was the need for new classrooms, nurseries, offices, and a pastor's study, and of course a fellowship hall. The addition was started in April of 1977 and completed in 1978. The construction of the original church was largely completed with the church labor, so this new church addition was also built by the church people. The women fed the worker meals, and everyone worked together to help in any way they could. It was great to see. Reverend Binkley was an excellent Bible teacher, and his wife Jeannie also had a beautiful music ministry. The Binkleys left in June 1982 and moved to Durango, Colorado to take over a pastor of church where they had served as youth pastors in years before. From June 1982 till July 1982, Reverend Marvin Powell served as interim pastor. Reverend Ellis Ryherd then moved here from Newton, Iowa and held his first service in July 1982. During the time that Reverend Ryherd was here, the church celebrated the 50th anniversary of the founding of our church. To continue our memory journey, we see that Reverend and Mrs. Jerry Skinner became pastors on the first Sunday of October 1984. He was a great Bible teacher, counselor, and a pastor of pastors. He had a unique way of conducting weddings and funerals. He also had a great outreach with the city leaders, and by being a builder of bridges, became president of the City Ministerial Association. Pastor Skinner established Lighthouse Foursquare Church as a church of integrity, sound witness, and reputation. In response to a prophetic word given to the church that defined our mission, we became known as the Lighthouse Foursquare Church. Pastor Jerry remained our pastor for 22 years until his retirement on November 25th, 2006. Reverend Marvin and Phyllis Powell again served as interim pastors over the next 4 months. The faithful service of Martin and his wife Phyllis cannot be overstated. They have repeatedly stepped into the void when church leadership was needed. Reverend David Holland was our first guest speaker on the actual 75th anniversary day on February 11th, 2007, and then became our new pastor on April 1st, 2007. He quickly began putting the finishing touches on the plans for the 75th anniversary of the church. Pastor David and Joni Holland served as senior pastors from April 1st, 2007 through March of 2015. At that time, Pastor David and Joni felt a new direction in their ventures. The Foursquare Gateway District then asked Pastor Tyson Lambertson of the Rock Church in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, to oversee the transition and to provide support in any way possible. In April 2015, Pastor Vaughn and Jill Fahrenbrook, along with their daughter Aspen and Micah, who was about to be born, accepted to become campus pastors of the newly named Rock Church. From 2015 to 2018, the Rock Church focused on loving the faithful that have been with the Foursquare Church and reaching out to the community in unique ways, such as our Biker Sunday, where we invited our local bikers to come have church. It was a great success as 1% motorcycle club members attended and were ministered to. Then, in December 2018, Pastor Tyson felt as though the Rock Church was ready to be fully released to Pastor Vaughn and Jill and become its own autonomous church. To this day, Pastor Vaughn and Jill have been leading the Rock Church. The past 7 years has been quite the adventure, with 3 major remodeling projects, a focus on community outreach with events like Family Faith Day, Serve Day, Rocktoberfest, a fostering of relationships with our community groups and fun gatherings, a passion to see God move in our church and city, and to see the lives transformed by unwavering truth and exponential love. We look back and thank God for the 90 years and honor what He has done, and we now look ahead and ask God to do immeasurably more in and through our church.